Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Dr. Music Podcast. Thank you so much for my return visitors and my subscribers. So appreciate you guys. If you are not a subscriber, please consider hitting that button. Gives me great opportunities to bring you guest artists like the one I have today, Mr. Cory Marks. Cory, a Canadian country rock singer, songwriter, pilot. We're going to talk a little bit about all those things. His 2020 song, Outlaws and Outsiders, has become a country hard rock anthem that's established Cory as, a leader in a blossoming crossover movement. Now Cory's back at it. His new album is out on Better Noise music label. It's called Sorry for Nothing, and he is once again making that country rock. Cory, it's great to have you, man.
Hey Scott, good to be here, man. Thank you.
Yeah, it's incredible, man. The rise that you've had, just and Outlaws and Outsiders, of course, the catalyst for bringing everything up, and one song can do it for you. But everybody's discovering that you're so much more than that one song. It's got to be a great feeling, man.
Hey, thanks, man. It's yeah, it's I grew up on great music in many different genres from, Merle Haggard, Buck Owens on the countryside to, Rush, Bryan Adams and, Ozzy Osbourne on the rock side, and then into the Pantera, Metallica, and Lamb of God on the metal side. Of course, as a drummer before this whole singer-songwriting thing, I, was very into all kinds of music and still am. So I just tried to blend the music that I love the most all into one one sound, and that's I guess that's what you get from me.
Yeah, and it's cool. I applaud the label too, for letting you cross like that.
They took a chance on me, man. They took a chance. We did all
Yeah,
right.
yeah, man. And that's great. I love to see that because that's it's what art is. The label used to really dictate, what we got from artists.
Hmm.
Something hit big, you had to do it over and over and over and over.
That's right.
But you do so many different things, and I think people really appreciate that. It's
Thank
really
you, man.
cool. You started as a drummer, like Dad.
Yeah, yeah,
Big musical family.
yeah.
Uh, you were in a band called Inflict.
Yeah.
Steps along the warpath, man. I'm waiting to hear it.
I
Maybe
should send you a copy. I
oh,
think
that'll be awesome, man.
I think
Uh,
I thought I had a copy of it somewhere here. Actually,
that's
I might have it. That's hilarious.
that's
There it
so
is.
cool.
Oh,
No way.
this is it, man.
Look at that. That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, man, I would love to hear that. I'm a big, at my core, I was a hard rock kid and a classic rock kid. And I mean, of course I've discovered funk, jazz, country, all of that and more. And so appreciate all that. So when I heard you were a drummer, I'd love to hear that. And that Inflict album, very Lamb of God, Pantera, Slayer
Very
like,
much.
right?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, very much like that. I mean, we were young. This is so it's stamped here in the back, 2006. So crazy to think this is almost 20 years old. I think I had just turned 16 at the time, and they needed a drummer, and I remember they sent, and this was on cassette tapes, and at mom and dad's, I'd put it. My dad had this little stereo setup that he had, and I'd had to crank it. I didn't have in ears or anything like that then, so crank that stereo up as loud as I could before mom and dad got home from work, and I would go over the songs and write my parts. And 2 weeks later, we were in the studio for my first time ever recording this eight track album.
Man, that's just so cool. And you have it there, you're holding it up. You're proud of it, aren't you?
Yeah, man. You know what? I look back to those times too, and it's just it's so crazy to think. We were getting into the bars and playing these bar gigs and starting to get on the festival stages and being 16 and I think at that time I was I think I was fairly advanced at that time because I'd been drumming since for 6 7 years, but it was like nonstop. I was getting kicked out of class for always on the desk and at lunchtime I go in the music room and I'm just doing, rudiments and practicing Rush songs. And so like by 14, I remember doing, stuff at the waterfront in the summer. Me and my buddy, who's now a lawyer, but he's a guitar player, and we're playing Rush songs and Dream Theater, and we're like Yitsu
Wow.
Jam with Dream Theater, and we're 13, 14 years old, and it was,
Wow.
looking back at that, it's like it's pretty amazing when you really tell, like, when you really love something and the passion is there, sky's the limit, man.
Man, unbelievable. I would absolutely love to hear that. Well, and I think back, I had a chance to see Hank Williams III. Uh,
Yeah.
and if a little bit about what he does, traditional country as
Hmm.
traditional as it gets, and then he does another set after it where it is full on thrash, man. I mean, it is
Yeah.
really heavy, and it was so great to see that because he does both of them really well, and
Cool.
it was a really unique kind of thing. Do you ever see yourself doing a metal record? I mean, you're touring
Um,
with all these people. It's a very metal thing that you get involved with sometimes. Do
yeah.
you see yourself doing something like that?
I mean, I would love to. I mean, I'm pretty open. I think as far as I think it would definitely, I'd have to expand a little bit vocally, I think, but I'm doing some of that in my live shows now, where people are like, man, you're like growling like Ivan and stuff from Five Finger, and I'm learning as I go and finding pressure points, and where I'm like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. But I think certainly, as a huge, like, David Coverdale fan too, and like, so maybe metal in that, like 80s metal, I think is definitely
Right.
probably something more. But behind the kit, if I'm drumming and have any direction at all, maybe we do a little more Lamb of God, Pantera sound, kind of what you hear on my
Yeah.
records now with some of those breakdowns. But I think yeah, of course it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. You've been support for Five Finger,
Hmm.
Theory of a Dead Man as well. Breaking Benjamin was scheduled.
Yeah, yeah,
I see you're coming
the
my way
damn
very.
C word.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's just wow, that whole thing is heartbreaking, especially for you. There's big story there with all kinds of shows you had planned, but
Yeah, yeah.
um, I see you coming my way as support for Dorothy, uh,
Yes.
another heavy band. Um, so appealing to these hard rock and metal crowds, what you do has definitely a hard rock thing to it sometimes, but at other times it does not.
Mhm.
Tough to be strong, 17, that kind of thing. Very
Mhm.
country.
Yeah.
Um, do you prepare or perform differently when you're in
Oh
front of a
yeah.
hard rock crowd? Yeah,
Oh yeah.
tune down or change the
Two
set
different
list.
two different beasts, man. The
Okay.
set list is pretty, like, this set list coming up is, I think, not to spoil anything, but at the end I'll do something instead of ending with Outlaws and Outsiders. I'm gonna, and I especially in Nashville, I'm gonna end with something a little on the softer side where people get to see. And I think it's been working really cool the last couple of years in my set. I just started this particular idea during my European tour and a tour in the UK just a couple of weeks ago.
Hmm.
And I do Sorry for Nothing acoustic at the end of my show. So kind of this is going to be like pretty hard hitting. And then instead of ending with the big one, Outlaws and Outsiders, I'll get to be one on one with the fans and just how it all started, just me, my guitar, and a song. And I think it really adds a really cool dimension, especially when you know that in about 25 minutes, Dorothy's going to come out and rock it. So I think it kind of, let's bring it up, and then we'll kind of bring it back down a little bit, and then we'll try it out, see what happens. But it's been really special, and sometimes my encore is, even if it's a second encore, I just go out with my guitar. It's just me and the fans, and it's been pretty cool.
Yeah, man. And it is a different world too. I'm in metal shows. I'm a photographer, so
Right.
concert photographer. So, I'm in these metal shows. I'm at the pit and I'm looking at these people. They're accepting. They love music,
Yeah.
and nowadays, like I say, with the labels not demanding, you have to do this and you have to do that as much. Uh,
Mhm.
I think people are more accepting of different things, and that sounds like a great thing that you're doing at the end
I
there.
mean, I hope so. And I mean, obviously, like I'm a huge Bryan Adams fan, and I've gotten to see him a few times. And um, actually at an interview just before this one, it was out of Pittsburgh, and with John Caddick out of Pittsburgh, and I told him, I said, actually that'll be my first time back in Pittsburgh on this Dorothy tour since getting engaged at the Bryan Adams concert last March. So it'll be pretty cool to be back in that special city to us now. And but yeah, like when we see him live, it's like I just think it's really important, especially as a songwriter, not just a rock artist or country artist, but the way he can captivate and just have the audience in the palm of his hands. I think most important, I say, he either makes you want to party, he makes you want to cry, or he'll make you want to fall in love and do whatever comes after that too. And I think that's a really cool concept because that's what music's supposed to do. You got to feel something. And I remember the last 4 or 5 songs was just like everyone's on their feet. And then for the encore, it's like this guy in a guitar just comes out and fucking blows everybody away with
Yeah.
it's all for love. And it was I can't even think of the title of the song right now. It's just brain fart right now, but Straight from the Heart. And that's a song that I
Yeah.
do too. And it's been working for me. I'll just kind of do a Straight from the Heart as an encore, and it worked in Hamburg. We're in Germany, and then the crowd was singing it for me. It was just a beautiful thing,
Man,
you know.
that, I see that kind of stuff, where the crowd takes over and supports
It's
the artist like that in the song
it's
and
so cool.
man, I get chills. That
Yeah.
that stuff is just chilling. I can't imagine what it's like for you.
The only thing
Really
is
cool.
I wish it was my song when that happens.
Right. That'll happen, man. I promise. That there's
Thank
no
you,
way
brother.
that's not gonna happen for sure. You got so many powerful songs.
Thank you, man.
The last album, Who I Am, comes out in 2020. As we all know, that was a pretty difficult year.
Yeah.
You spent about 5 years working on that record.
Hmm.
And I feel like it was one of the only things that kind of made it through, because you have the hit and stuff, and it did well. Um,
Continues to grow. It's crazy.
yeah, 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 which is great to see. Any regret on releasing it during that time? After all that work, does it, do you, are you satisfied with the way the album was received?
Yeah, yeah. I really am because it's like I said, it's still growing daily, which is incredible. And I do think that everything happens for a reason. Like I had the opportunity to finish my pilot's license. I spent a little more time here at home with the family and kind of got the opportunity to figure myself out a little before this whole rocket ship was taken off like it was. And so in a way, I'm kind of thankful for it. And it really held me through those hard times because I still had a hit out there. The streams were still going up, and there's other songs on that record that are doing great too. So it was really a piece of art that carried me through those 2 years and led me to touring opportunities when it cleared up and some festival opportunities. And and the fact that it's still growing, it's not going anywhere soon. So it's a positive thing, I think.
That's cool. I hear that so much too. The silver linings of the COVID time, and
Yeah, man.
yeah, it's really cool, man. That it seemed like such a bad thing, and it was. But
Yeah, of
so
course.
many cool things came out of it. Things we could really build on. So it's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Got to try to
Kevin.
find you got to try to find the positive, man. That's all you can do.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're all stuck here.
Yeah, that's right.
You got Kevin and Kane Churko. We're talking Shania Twain to Ozzy to Five Finger. It's got write, produce, play on the record and you bring them back on Sorry for Nothing. You had them on Who I Am, along with Kyle Odell and Andrew Bayless. Of
Hmm.
course, Jelly Roll, Brantley Gilbert. We're talking. You're in good hands here,
Yeah.
no doubt about it. The songwriting process for you guys. I mean, you come up with these songs, bring them to the guys. Do you sit in a room together? How's it work for you?
It's all different. Every song has its own, sometimes I could be on an airplane and have this idea and I'll hum it in my phone so I don't lose the melody. And like in times for a song like Drive on the first record, I was coming back from a video shoot in Vancouver, BC, and I was taking a red eye back home, but I couldn't get this melody out of my head, and was thinking back towards those 2 days of shooting the video, and kind of created this love story on this based on this what if, and that's really where the song Drive came to life. And I wrote it on a napkin. I had nothing else, so I asked the stewardess for a napkin and wrote it, put it in my pocket. And when I got home, I made sure to figure out the key, and then the rest is history, of course. And Churko did his thing, but it's always different, man. There's songs like on this new record, Late Night of Drinking Again, where I was going through some stuff at the time. I mean, this song is probably 7, 8 years old, and it's kind of, I remember coming downstairs a little hungover and hard up, and staring at the bottle of Jack Daniels sitting on the kitchen table, and I just grabbed my guitar, and first thing that came out was, it's a late night of drinking again. It's all Merle would do that, so, and it was one of those songs. It's 20 minutes done. I'm like, that's all I got to do. That's the song. That's it.
All right.
And it's some days, when you're in Nashville or in the studio with the Churko boys, we're just sitting in the room, and I might have a title, or they might have a title, and you just, honestly, it all depends. That's what's the fun part about creating and writing music, is that, it could go anywhere. You can walk in with this idea of like partying, and then you could walk out crying because this is the greatest love song I've ever written. So you never know. So
I,
it's a lot of fun.
I was gonna say that makes it a ton of fun, and it's a mystery a little bit for you too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, that's exciting for sure. Anything you wanted to do differently with this Sorry for Nothing record? You did Who I Am, you did well, you still
Hmm.
does well.
Yep.
Did you say to yourself, let's continue on that road, or are there certain things that you said, hey, for this album I want to do this a little bit different, anything like that?
I mean, there's always that hope of outdoing the big one or the first one. But I think it worked out so well that, and I just really have a ton of fun playing the heavier stuff live too. So I always try to split. I wrote almost 100 songs during this COVID period. These were the first 13 that I was like, all
Wow.
right, let's get these out, because there's some special songs in there, and I wrote them with some special people. And like I said, some like Late Night of Drinking Again, where I wrote alone. It's just, that's kind of my whiskey or wine on this record, which is, I always like to try to have at least one song that's going to pay, homage to Merle, the great Merle Haggard, and real country music. And so, and I always like to set my albums up like I would a live show. Come out with a bang, get everyone singing along, bring it down a little bit, and let's bring them back up on this roller coaster ride. And by the last song, hopefully, they're going to want more. So it's structurally, it's kind of it's a roller coaster ride, and I try to keep it that way because I think it keeps the listener entertained. It makes it interesting. There's always going to be country. There's always going to be some rock and some heavier stuff. But on this album, Sorry for Nothing was, I think, a perfect, coming out of COVID and everything, and my second album, and my first album in 4 years, full length. I
Yeah.
think it was a really good example of, again, not going anywhere. And I'm country and I'm rock and I'm a little metal too. And if you can't handle it, then I'm sorry for nothing.
I love it, man. Yeah, and it's cool. I'm an old school guy, so I love the peaks and valleys, and I love the journey of a full
Yeah,
record, the sequencing of it. It matters to me.
for sure.
We're kind of in a singles world now. It's unfortunately, not a lot of people will. There's still a group that listens to it full through and
Yeah.
it goes on that journey, and it is a cool journey, this record for sure.
Awesome.
I
Thank you, man.
I want to talk about collaborations. You got a lot of people guesting on the stuff. I know Amanda, my friend from Eva Under Fire, also on the Better Noise label.
Hmm.
You do Unstoppable and Give Me a Reason with
Yeah. Yeah.
them. Really cool. Love that band. Amanda's great. Yeah, I know the label probably puts a lot of these together, but
Hmm.
it's collaborating. With I mean, you got Ivan Moody, of course, Travis Tritt, and Mick Mars, and Lizzie Hale. I mean, there's a lot of collaborations.
Yeah.
Do you enjoy them? And is it ever frustrating to you have? I mean, they're human beings. They all have opinions and ideas, and
Hmm.
that too many cooks in the kitchen thing, maybe.
Right.
That could happen, I guess. So tell me a bit about the collaborations.
Well, I think they're all pretty in a way strategically picked, and knowing that it's going to fit what I'm doing. And the best part of it is these artists love what I'm doing and love the songs and are happy to be part of it. So I think that's the biggest bonus. But I'm very open. I'm like that with my band too. Um, we're all artists. We all have our thing, and I know they're going to bring something special to the table. So I let them do their thing because the song's done already. It's just basically you do what you do and fucking kick ass. And I've just been really fortunate enough to have these friends come on these singles and records and um, just be great because they're great. So I know there's not going to be a problem there. And everyone that's featured on one of my songs, I'm happy to call a friend and really just thrilled to have them on the song, let them do their thing and just make the song even better and even more unique. So I'm always open to that. And there's always the worry of like being a featured artist in the sense of like all the hits have the features kind of thing. But um, I, you know, I know that there's a lot of great songs on this record, and I make sure that and hope that if you listen to the record through and through, you'll hear that too. And yeah, it's always nice to have collabs, and I'm sure there's going to be many more. And I can't
Yeah,
wait for the next ones and the next songs, the next features, and you know,
that's cool.
the sky's the limit. So we'll see what happens.
That's cool. I noticed Sully Erna from Godsmack.
Hmm.
Similar. He's a drummer as well. I know. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and a big Rush fan.
yeah, yeah. So that was really cool. I love his sound on the record. He's got that signature kind of sound to his.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, it's great
man.
to have him, man. Um, I've always wondered. I'm here in the Chicagoland area. Um, Here in the US there's a culture kind of comes with country music. It comes from a specific place a lot of times. Your southern to southeastern kind of region is country music. There's
Hmm.
not a lot of country artists coming from Maine.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's a Kentucky, Tennessee, Georgia kind of thing. Um, for Canada, is it, your country art, are there country regions of Canada like we have here in the States?
I think, yeah, I mean, like Alberta is, I would say, our Texas, so to
Okay.
speak. A lot of farm and oil out there. So I would say that's probably the region in Canada, but most of all, spread across, this great nation. There's country music everywhere from the East Coast, to those middle provinces like Alberta and Saskatchewan. But there's a lot of country in Ontario, and of course, the great province of Quebec as well, and I can't forget New Brunswick, and again moving towards the East Coast. So
Right.
there's some everywhere, and I mean even on the furthest west side of Vancouver, there's great country music across this whole country. Really, there
Yeah,
really is. But I
that's
think if I
great.
had to pick one region that was like the hub, you're talking Calgary, Edmonton, Alberta.
Yeah.
That's where all the belt buckles and cowboy hats are.
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of figured, there had to be a hub, right?
Yeah, yeah, that would be it. I think that would be it for sure.
Okay. I want to talk about snowbirds. It's such a special thing. It's got to be huge for you. The video,
Mhm.
Royal Canadian Air Force 431 Air Demonstration Squadron, kind of like
Mhm.
our Blue Angels here in the States.
Exactly.
Um, Very rare for a civilian to fly with them. You've done
Hmm.
that.
I even got the tattoo of the jet that I flew in. So that's
It's just so awesome, man.
thank you, man.
It is really cool. You get your pilot's license at 18, you got 300 hours of flight time, just experience, a lot of experience. This is huge to you. You got another song called Flying.
Yeah,
It's big passion for you.
yeah.
Did you consider becoming a full-time pilot? Are we lucky to have you making music? You could very well be flying every day and not writing songs.
Yeah.
So Is was that that was a big option for you in your
It
younger?
was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I enrolled in a private pilot school when I was about 17, 18 years old with hopes of, do the airline pilot thing. But that was where like it was mixed up. I was doing that. Then there was hockey. There's some opportunities. I had a full ride optioned for Ohio State University, which I didn't want to take. I didn't want to go back to school.
Right.
And then I take on piloting. So, or wanting to be a pilot. It's just always been a passion of mine. And then later in my junior hockey career, another school approached me, which was the Royal Military College of Canada. So I just thought at 20, 21 years old, what else am I going to do? I might as well go to school, get an education. In the summertime, I'll begin phase one, phase two pilot training for the forces. And you get all that while getting paid. So and I'm going to play, 4 or 5 years of CIS, university hockey, high level hockey. So I thought that's the best option. So I enrolled as a pilot for the military when I was with them when I enrolled, and had to do some upgrading. But I was practicing with the team, skating with the team every day, and long story short, it didn't work out, and that's where I really started playing some music and kind of posting on YouTube and Facebook, and then my friends got me up at the bar one night, and it became like a weekly thing. And I guess caught the bug. My brother's girlfriend at the time was working at a bar, and she's like, "Well, listen, like, you can come here and play every Wednesday for a couple $100 until you figure out what you want to do." And that
Awesome.
led to going to another bar on a Thursday as an opening act of the night band, and then put a little band together. My dad was one of my first drummers, which was really cool. And
That's really
until
cool.
mom had enough of him, crawling in at 3 in the morning, he had to be at work for 6. So I had to, he had to retire from that and stick to the real day job. But yeah, it was quite a roller coaster, man. I just built my repertoire and started putting bands together and playing bars everywhere I could. And I haven't looked back since. That was 2011, and I've literally just been doing this and playing the road since then, man.
Man, it's so cool. I'm watching the videos. You got a lot out there. I noticed a couple things. I'm watching the 21 video, and I'm seeing you interact with the most beautiful girl in the world. She was. Just it's crazy. And I realize I don't hear that much about your personal life. I mean, you've mentioned family and stuff like that, but it's not out there. It's not, hey, in the tabloids or whatever.
Mhm.
Is that intentional? Do you keep that kind of, not something you talk about a lot?
I mean, I think I'm pretty I've always said this too, like with interviews, that when they ask like, can I bring this up? I said, man, I'm pretty much an open book, and I just kind of, what you see is what you get. And I think, I'm pretty public on social media and stuff too, but I think most of all, I'm not only writing songs, I've lived these songs, whether it was heartbreak, the parting, getting arrested, whatever. And I think that's what's really important for me, and I've always felt that way. Again, being a big Merle Haggard fan, obviously, and Brian Adams is I think, no pun intended, but writing straight from the heart and writing what you know and what you lived, I think is really important because we're all unique in our own way, but we also go through a lot of the same things, whether that's hardship, breakup, good times, bad times, and I think it might not seem like and that's a great question because that's the first time someone's brought that up. But I think I think it's just through the music, like that, like that's pretty me. Again, what you see is what you get, and that's my heart's on my sleeve. It's always been, and as Merle would say, that's the way I am.
Yeah. Yeah, and I gotta ask, who was the girl a model? A girlfriend?
I think
Is it your wife?
she was a cheerleader actually. I forget for which football team, and they had these. They send you models and stuff, and you gotta get to pick what's most fitting,
Okay.
um, and that's actually great that you asked that too, because that's actually this when I wrote Drive. It was on that trip,
Ah,
coming back from that music video. I just had this idea of like, this what if, and wrote this story of, if things were to go that way and whatnot, and made up this kind of, this relationship, based on those 2 days. And that's how I wrote Drive, was based on that music video.
That's cool. That's great, man. Triangle's awesome. That's very cool. And I also noticed your tattoos. We
Mhm,
mentioned the plane. That
mhm.
means a great deal to you, I know.
Yeah.
Uh, do you have it looks, I'm looking at your arms and stuff, and I'm like, those aren't just, cool dragons.
Yeah, yeah, they're
There's
pretty.
there's some meaning
Oh yeah.
there. Do you have one
Mhm.
that means the most to you?
Honestly, they're all really I got Mama Tried on my forearm, and that's for all the hell I
Yeah.
put my mom through, and obviously a big Merle Haggard song. She got a daisy here too. My grandfather and I are born on the same day, so my mom's the baby of eight, and so I'm the youngest out of all my cousins, and there's a lot of them. And I was born the same day as my grandfather, October 11th, 65 years apart. So they call us the evil twins. So this was one of the first tattoos I got. It's just his fedora, his initials, and "Sing Me Back Home." Again, Merle Haggard with some music notes and some smoke and clouds. That one's
Awesome.
important. And then both my grandparents, my grandma Maisie and my mare Virginia. So my Virginia was my mom's mom, and Maisie was my dad's mom. The two roses.
Yeah.
Very very much family. Everything's kind of special to me. Uh,
Love it.
Obviously the snowbird, the big lion, because they call me the Lion Man. Kind of
Yeah.
all heart.
Awesome.
And it's the pride and whatnot, I guess. And this one's a cool one too. Is Time Stands Still.
Ah,
When Neil Peart passed away, this is
yeah.
2112, and like he had his drum kit, and the story behind that is actually I was with my dad. I got to see my dad's seen Rush. He's from Toronto. They played his high school dance with John Rusty before Neil came
Oh,
along. He's seen them
oh,
30 times, and the last time we saw them together, I used to grow up, just air drumming and all that stuff, right? And so it's very special that I actually got to see Rush with my dad. And on the last show, we actually went to go say bye to my grandma, who was slowly kind of declining, and she had brain cancer and stuff. So we didn't quite know it was going to be the last time, but I couldn't help but wonder, like, what does my dad feel? Saying bye to mom and going to a
oh,
Rush concert right after this. And they opened with "Time Stands Still," and it was just like
oh,
couldn't first five songs we couldn't say anything, and then this all came back, and we're like, this is for
yeah.
everybody. I could see Neil, and then we're on the train back to where we're going, and we both kind of started laughing. I said, "Hey, Dad," and he just laughed and said, "I know." We both admitted we couldn't speak for the first five songs because it was just, especially when they open with "Time Stands Still," freeze this
Yeah.
moment a little bit longer, make each
Yep.
sensation a little bit stronger. And it was like, oh man. So we both like felt like if we were to open our mouth and just say one thing, like it would have just been waterworks. So none of us said anything until like five songs in. Then we're like, oh yeah, then it was just like two best friends. But
Uh,
so that was really special when he had passed. Um, I knew pretty quickly. I'm like, I'm gonna get the 24-hour clock like he had on the Clockwork Angels when we saw him in
yep.
Time Stand Still, and that's my
Man,
tribute to him.
that's so awesome, man. So cool.
Hey,
Love
thank you,
love the
dude.
art, and they're all phenomenal too. Great
Thank
art.
you, man. Thank
Uh,
you.
what's on tap for 2025, man? I know you're coming my way. April
Yeah,
23rd at the Forge here in Joliet, Illinois.
man. I played that like 3 years ago now already, man. That's crazy.
Man,
So,
it's cool. I'm looking forward
but
to it. Yeah, you
we,
got a full tour coming? Are you gonna have a headline tour?
man, I've already played. What did I do? I did 13 shows in 16 days across Europe and the UK just a week ago. I got back.
That's so cool.
Um, so I did that, and then we have this Dorothy run, which I think excuse me, is about 15 shows, and then I'm going to come back for about not quite a week. I think it's 4 or 5 days, and then I'm doing an Ontario and Quebec, Canada run, which is I think it's 9 shows in about, I don't know, a couple weeks, and then it's summer season. But one thing that this is very very fresh and new, but I'm coming out with another album later this year, which I'm super excited about. Volume two, Sorry for Nothing, and
Oh,
I'm hoping to get back over to the UK and Europe again. And there's already talks. potential now of a second run with Dorothy here in the fall, so across the U.S. So
Man, it's just awesome, man. It's
yeah,
just
yeah,
so
man.
I love seeing it, man.
Hey, thank you.
Such a great artist, and the
Oh,
world
thanks, man.
the world deserves you, man.
Oh,
It's you put a lot of great feel into the world, man. I listen to this record, and I feel good. It
oh,
makes me
good,
feel good, man. It brings back memories, and it makes me think about cool stuff, and it's
good.
it's a really fun record. It's a really meaningful record. I love it, man, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, brother.
It's great to have you, man.
Appreciate it, Scott.
I'm Better Noise Music. Sorry for nothing. Out there right now, CoryMarks.com. I'm looking forward to seeing you, man. That's less than a month away, something
I
like that.
know it's coming
Yeah,
up. It's like two
yeah,
weeks. The tour starts. So when we get to hang out,
yeah.
whatever
Cool,
I got in
man.
the green room, we'll take a shot of before the show and
All
enjoy
right,
it.
man. Very cool, man.
Hell
All right,
yeah.
Cory. I'll see you then, man.
Thanks,
Take,
Scott. Really appreciate you, bro. Have a good
take
one.
care, brother. You too. Bye.
Bye for now.